A 2020 study that sampled 1.6 million educators in the US discovered that teachers hold the same level of bias as the general public in this country. Bias has often been understood as a moment rather than a process. The literature on bias in educational contexts offers evidence that racial, ethnic, gender, and religious biases emerge in students as young as 4 or 5 years old.
Educators and educational staff have been shown to often ignore behavioral and spoken cues, not just at this age, but as students move through their educational journey. This inaction and silence on the part of educational professionals stems from lacking the competencies and skills to effectively build resilience on bias and address biased behaviors in speech when they emerge in classroom settings.
Responding to bias is not effective if exclusively focused on instances of bias. It is a lack of response to cultures of bias that creates a fertile breeding ground for radicalization. When the pandemic hit, this problem didn't simply go away, it moved online.
Reports of biased behavior and speech by educators and educational staff skyrocketed. Educational professionals, both prior to and during the pandemic, were looking for professional development on countering biases to protect against targeted violence and terrorism, but no such readily available initiative existed. Enter Voices.
Voices is a curriculum building collective focused on providing online professional development opportunities that enable educators and educational staff to promote and instill values of moral resilience, nonviolent problem solving, and social connectedness, all protective factors against targeted violence.
When you enroll in a Voices course, you aren't signing up for a typical online course. We use storytelling and participatory pedagogies to challenge biases, focusing on anti-Muslim bias, owing to our team's expertise and background knowledge in this research area.
Our project goals are to build moral resilience, nonviolent problem solving, and social connectedness as values in an educator's practice when interacting with students in and out of the classroom through the Voices online course. To engage and empower educator and student voices in the expression of their stories, experiences, and ideas to cultivate socially cohesive rather than polarizing school environments where the discussion of race, gender, ethnicity, and religion is met with sensitivity, empathy, and compassion.
Let's move to our preliminary research and begin with the target audience analysis. Our primary target audience was educators and educational staff in a variety of settings in the US. In our outreach, we included teachers, principals, professors, administrators, counselors, in-school health professionals, and teaching aides. In addition, our audience spread across educational levels, be it early childhood, K through 12, or higher education. In school environments where biases go unchecked and are embedded in the culture of the institution, either witnessed in student behavior or perpetuated by colleagues, supervisors, and leaders, educators feel hesitant to voice their experiences. When students, our secondary target audience, feel isolated, marginalized, and lack a sense of belonging in the classroom, they experience educational displacement.
If narratives, pedagogies, and curricula fail to address their grievances and silence their voices, students will feel displaced in their schools. The radicalization of thought follows educational displacement, leading some students to seek unsafe outlets to express their frustrations. A 2020 report by the Office of Targeted Violence and Terrorism Prevention identified educators and educational staff as vital stakeholders in the process of countering radicalization and targeted violence in schools.
Now, let's discuss our primary research. Our primary research included a research survey approved by the Institutional Review Board at Teachers College, Columbia University, coupled with in-depth interviews of subject matter experts. Our survey received 237 responses. Our respondents represent 26 US states. Here are the significant findings from the survey. 95% of respondents hear or see anti-Muslim bias occurring at their schools by their students. 91% of respondents hear or see anti-Muslim bias occurring at their schools by their colleagues. 70% of respondents have never engaged in a professional development initiative aimed at addressing anti-Muslim bias.
Before moving to the Voices course content, here are some major strategies and tactics that inform the development of the course. Theory of change. We developed an excellent understanding of the existing scholarship, initiatives, and leading voices in the fields of Islam, education, and radicalization. We used this growing knowledge base to build a theory of change that informed our course design. Innovate. We integrated with education technologies such as Mentimeter and Padlet to introduce interactive, innovative, and multimodal pedagogies that move beyond the simple prompt and response approach. Reach. We worked very hard on recruitment, from cold emailing across the US to securing support from Teachers College, Office of Continuing Professional Studies, the National Council of Urban Education Associations, and the Department of Education in Minnesota.
Social media. Using Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, we built a following on social media with 3 purposes. First, to spread awareness and direct educators to register for the Voices course. Second, to share the guiding competencies that informed our curriculum development through a series of curated posts. And third, share the stories of our diverse Voices team, who consists of educators, artists, writers, entrepreneurs, and storytellers.
With this robust foundation, secured by comprehensive recruitment, curriculum development, and social media, we launched the Pilot Voices course. What are the first steps? 1. Register for Voices through our website, from our social media, or if you received an email from us. 2. To register, you will fill out an intake survey and then sign up to enroll. 3. Once registered, you receive an email to create your username and login details, and off you go.
Here are a few highlights from the course, beginning with positionality. Participants will reflect on their identity, privileges, and past experiences to examine how they might influence their actions and behaviors in educational spaces.
Participants listened to an exclusive reading for Voices by Dr. Amra Sabek El-Riggs, award-winning memoir, The Cat I Never Named, a true story of love, war, and survival. This narrative of moral resilience by a Bosnian Muslim woman who survived the genocide in Bosnia helps educators cultivate a culture of empathy, inclusion, and understanding in the face of anti-Muslim bias in their schools. We've punctuated the course with a range of checkpoints for participants to not only assess their own growth, but also provide invaluable feedback to our team as we plan the next version of this course. Speaking of planning in the future, in order to build the next course, we need to spotlight our post-research and measures of effectiveness. Using both data collected from a survey at the end of the Voices course and video testimonials from course participants, the following findings offer insights on both effectiveness and attitude shifts. 80% of enrollees completing relevant modules express strong understanding of their role in confronting violence in school.
100% of enrollees completing relevant modules reported enhanced knowledge of using storytelling to inspire moral resilience. Coupled with these promising results were reflections from Voices course participants.
I love Voices because as teachers and role models, it's so important to know and learn how to lead and guide our students. Voices has given me the opportunity, through its incredibly detailed modules, to learn more about myself and my implicit biases so that I can be the best teacher I can be for my students, one that inspires thinking, kindness, and inclusivity. I've never experienced a course like this before, and it's been a truly invaluable experience.
Speaking of value, we will now present our cost-benefit analysis. The Voices budget focused on promotional items to incentivize course participation during recruitment, web development, design software, and the integration of education technologies in the Voices course. The Voices added value graphic is a representation of the monetary value added beyond our allotted budget. This is the value that we have created due to our hard work for the duration of the Invent to Prevent program. From contributions by Voices experts to permissions for copyrighted material, data visualization software to the valuation of our Voices team of graduate researchers, we have added more than $120,000 of value to the product.
When looking back at the value we created, we are compelled to look forward to both sustain and scale Voices. We are proud to showcase the various steps we have taken to sustain this project. For example, credits. We are working with Teachers College, Columbia University to, by this fall, offer the Voices course for college credit and as a continuing studies course. This would allow educators at the Master of Arts at Teaching, MAT, programs to register for Voices as part of their course of study. Certificate and professional development hours. Upon completion, a digital certificate of completion is awarded jointly by Columbia University and Voices to every course participant. In addition, the completion of the course can be counted towards 6 hours of professional development. Voices experts. Having entered the planning phase for our update to this Voices course, we have begun to reach out to experts, academics, journalists, educators, hoping that they will contribute to our curriculum by becoming Voices experts. In speaking to our scalability, we have made many strides. For example, partnerships with the Department of Education and universities. Department heads enrolled in Voices were interested in partnering with us. For example, faculty in education from Southern Connecticut University, who take in 100 educators every academic year, are looking to integrate Voices courses into their program.
edX Coursera transition. Considering the number of educators enrolling in Voices is only increasing, we have entered a dialogue with edX and Coursera to understand the feasibility of moving onto their platforms. New pathways for Voices. We plan to expand into areas such as courses countering Asian American hate, anti-blackness, and transphobia. Grant funding applications. We have successfully applied for the National Institute of Justice's Domestic Terrorism Prevention Grant, as well as the Department of Homeland Security's Targeted Violence and Terrorism Prevention Program. 2 concept notes for projects in partnership with the Navajo Nation and another project with correctional officers in New York State are under consideration. We are Voices.
We are Voices.
We are Voices.
We are Voices.